You all for joining us on this lovely, hopefully lovely Tuesday afternoon, wherever you're at, or morning. We're really excited about today's topics that we have prepared to share with you all. So let's get right into it. So first and foremost, I want to introduce the team that we have on the call today. From the MentorCity side, my name is Justin Baker. I'm the VP of Partnership Development. We also have Sean Mintz, who's the president of MentorCity. We've got Brian Anderson, who's our senior account manager. We also have Princhi Gupta and Kevin Vo, who are two of our account executives on the call. There's
Hello.
someone down there on the list. I have to scroll down. So many people that have joined us today, which is great. And last but not least, we have a really special guest on the call with us today, Danielle Thibodeau, who's the primary admin for Women Leaders in Pharma's mentoring committee. She's going to be sharing with us some firsthand experience. They're one of our clients of both the overall planning, development, deployment, and administering of a real life mentoring program. What we thought it'd be interesting to do to get us started today is to learn a little bit more about everyone on the call and a little bit more about your background to help us better understand who's joining so that we can help us position some of the topics for today's webinar. So what we thought would be interesting to learn a little bit more was where you're at with your mentoring program journey. So if you want to take a second perhaps and type into the chat, are you just planning a program? Have you been running a program for a few months, maybe a few years? Whatever that might be, give us a sense of where you're at in your mentoring program journey. If you don't mind, we'll take a second now and give everyone an opportunity to type into the Zoom chat. All right, Carolyn, you're getting ready to start a program. Pre-COVID, reintroducing, okay, for a few months. Researching stage, great. Okay, so it looks like we've got folks from all ends of the spectrum, both starting and looking at programs, starting programs, and also people that have been running it for years, which is fantastic. And that's great. We've got a lot of different things I think that'll be interesting for all ends of the spectrum. Much about 10 people. Oh, okay, fantastic. That's what's been. What a great background. Thank you all for taking the time to share with us a little bit more. So it certainly looks we've got folks from all ends of the spectrum on the webinar today. So that's great. One thing, the main overall theme ultimately for today's webinar, as we jump into the slideshow here a little bit, is ultimately we're looking to help administrators who are both new to the world of mentoring. So perhaps you've been tasked with deploying a mentoring program for your organization, or mentoring administrators that have been running programs, perhaps in manual methods. Okay, so manual could be pen and paper, Excel, etc., or even in technology-based methods. I know we have some of our clients on the call today as well. So what we want to do is really share interesting kind of tidbits, strategies, and tools and techniques that you can utilize our platform with to help make everything easier. Because ultimately, it can be a very overwhelming and daunting task when we think about managing and administering mentoring programs, but it doesn't have to be, right? And that's really what we want to show everyone today. Okay, so a little bit more about us. We've been around since 2011. We work with organizations from around the world, spanning from charities to nonprofits, corporations, and governments alike. We've had hundreds of thousands of users on our platform over the years. And it's a really interesting and customizable platform, but it also is something that can be used right outside the box, right out of the box rather, okay? And we'll talk more about that today as well. What I thought we'd start off with to kind of get us started is to talk a little bit about when we think about managing a mentoring program, the idea of this manual basis, or how perhaps a lot of us come from a world of doing this, or maybe we're even doing it now, right? Where we're using Excel, we're using various tools and pieces of technology to manage and run our mentoring program. And what that looks like, and then let's kind of compare it to the MentorCity world and juxtapose those for a moment. So in the manual world, like I said, we're using Excel or a paper-based system. When we're matching people together and gathering information about their profiles, that's again all being done manually. So we're comparing profiles manually and putting together, which is a very lengthy process. Okay. In larger organizations, it's at least a full-time employee as a resource that's dedicated to doing this, right? In smaller organizations, it could be a fraction of a resource. And it's very tough to measure the results, to see how are we doing? What's the adoption? Are we seeing success in transferring knowledge or whatever it is that we're trying to do with the platform and with the program? Oftentimes as well, we have a lot of really valuable pieces of information that we have stored maybe in Google Drives or in various servers or on my hard drive, or I have it printed off. But they're in various locations. When we think about MentorCity and the platform itself, we allow organizations to customize these profiles and capture information that's important to them to then allow them to search and match people based on certain criteria, right? So administrators can come in and they can either match individuals and create these pairs themselves, or we can open up the system and allow users to go and find matches based on whatever criteria is important to them. Now, certainly there's some commitment and involvement from a build perspective. You know, it can be hours, right? Depending on how customized we make an instance. But once we're up and running, we're looking at about an hour a week from a time commitment perspective to maintain and manage the mentoring program on the platform. Okay. The other nice thing is that we have real-time reporting built into the system. So ultimately, we're going to be able to tell a story very quickly with how we're doing. Are we seeing adoption? Are we seeing people filling out profiles? Are we seeing relationships being formed? Are they having their meetings? How long are these meetings for? So again, we can tell these stories through the platform and start to see that ROI starts to trickle down. The other nice thing is that we allow all of the LMIs that you may have and all of your IP, any type of knowledge base to be integrated right under the platform itself and organized really nicely as well. So from a training perspective, accessing coursework, accessing knowledge base, it can all be organized within the platform. So really easy to share knowledge. Okay. Now, with that being said, what I thought we would do is I want to transition. I want to bring Brian into the call. And Brian's going to share a little bit more about how, like I said, we can use the system both out of the box, but also how we can get a little bit more, I'll call it fancy for lack of a better term right now, and customize the system and make it more applicable or tailored to your business. So without further ado, Brian, over to you.
Thank you, Justin. Thanks everyone for being here today. So as Justin mentioned, you can use pretty much the entire platform right out of the box. There's not a lot of customizations that you have to do, but there's a lot of customizations that you can do if you want. I'm going to go through that with you in just a moment as well. But there's a lot of particularly the branding. The branding's a huge part of it. You can put your own brand on it, your own logo, your own colors, and if that's all you choose to do, then that's fine. You can use everything else right out of the box. We have the ability to add certain functions, custom profile fields, a whole list of skill sets. You can use the skill sets we have there, or we can use the skill sets that you want to use for your program as well. And the profile asks for a bunch of different information right off the bat. I can show you that in just a second. And then you can add your own fields to it too. And you can add those fields as a matching field, or you can have it just as informational. So you have control over what your members are matching with and what they're not matching with. And once I can share my screen, I can show you this. There we go. Okay, so the first thing I want to show you is the profile. So this is an out of the box profile. So it's already asking for the of course the first name, last name, basic information like that. The role, the development areas, if you're a if you're a mentor, and you have, this is the set of skills we have already in there. Of course, add your own if you would like. The next is the employment section. Again, fully customizable by you. You can turn this off if you want. You can keep it. You can allow your members to add more positions, and the system will match based on this. If you don't want your system to match based on the employment, you can remove the employment. But there's also different workarounds. If you do want them to know where they work, you can just add that as a custom profile field then. We also have a competency section, which is interesting. It's like a self-evaluation. It's all completely confidential. So your members can match on this as well without really even knowing that they're matching on these. The next is the profile fields. So in the admin dashboard, here is a bunch of different ways you can customize it. I'm going to say the main way is the profile fields. So you can change profile fields and adapt the profile fields on the fly to your to what you want for your program. You can appear in search. You can, if you decide after a while, no, I don't want my members to match on this, you can just uncheck it. It's very easy to swap things in and out. And then to create a field, it takes minutes. You can even add to the options of that field. So this creates like a drop-down box. You can quickly change things as they go as well. Some ways that you can match is just by looking. You can let your members match themselves as well. So you can get them to search based on skills or by job function, even by name or email address if they already kind of know who they want to match with, and then they can send them an invitation to match with them, and that person has to then accept the invitation. Another way you can match is by using speed match. And with speed match, you can actually you can match all of your members within minutes. It doesn't matter if you have 10 members. It doesn't matter if you have hundreds of members. You can run the speed match. It will show you what they're matching with, and you can accept or decline those matches before the match actually happens. So you always have some knowledge of who's being matched with who, and you have a way of verifying those matches. Also, now that people have matched and have gone through and sent out some invitations, I can see, using the stats, I can see all those invitations, what the status of them is, so I can start following up on people now. I can start getting statistics of how many people are sending invitations, how many aren't sending invitations, how many invitations are being withdrawn or just sitting there without any response at all. And then relationships. Once they're in a relationship, I can also track all that data right at a glance, which is very nice. I don't have to worry about spending hours looking at reports to figure all this out. I can just look right on here and I can see how many meetings they're having, how many hours within that meeting, whether or not they filled out mentoring agreements as well. When the relationship was ended, if it is a past relationship. And then I also have statistics as well. So down here is a list of all your statistics across the board. I can see how many people are actually filling out their profiles. And then from that, I can follow up with those people as well. Here gives you a little pie chart of how many invitations are being sent out and how many of those invitations are being accepted. And then I also have like a match of how many mentors and how many mentees we have available on the platform. So I can see just right at a glance that all of my mentors have a way of have a mentee to match up with. And then down here, it gives you some percentages as well. Goals, every time a goal's added to the platform, the system will tell you, if that goal is accepted or not, and the percentage of the completion rates for those. As well as meetings down here, you can see across the board how many meetings have happened within the platform and how long people have spent in the meetings. And then we also have reports that we can generate as well, members report, relationship report, so you can really get into the nitty gritty of absolutely all of your information that is in the platform. So now that I've showed you some ways that you can customize it, I want to pass it over to Danielle, who is kind of going to go through her experience with setting up the platform and managing the platform and how her organization was able to implement all of this.
Thank you very much, Brian. If you could just show my slide, that would be awesome, just to give you an idea. So Women Leaders in Pharma is...
Admin?
Okay, while you're managing this, Women Leaders in Pharma is led by volunteers. It's a not-for-profit bilingual organization with chapters in Montreal, Toronto, and Vancouver. And what we aim to do is to build our skills to help women to be business savvy, be brave, be bold, and affect change. We inspire each other by meeting remarkable women who are role models. So it made sense for us to have a mentorship program that we put together. So the mentoring committee is composed of 6 to 7 incredible women who provide their time and effort to manage this mentoring program. And because we are volunteers, our first goal was to make sure that we kept the load as light as possible. And with MentorCity, we found a great partner because we've been able to manage very well with that. So we followed a process, and I agree with Brian and Justin that really out of the box, you've got, I would say, 75 to 80% of a program ready to go. And we just customized it a little bit just to make it our own, just to feel as if it was really something that would appeal to our audience. And we ask ourselves some questions. So who can enroll? What kind of style of mentoring do we want to have? What is the maximum number of mentors or mentees in a relationship? So we decided that we wanted to have one-to-one relationship at the beginning, but then we got feedback from our mentors saying, no, you know what? I'm prepared to take 1, 2, 3 mentors. And within MentorCity, you can change on the fly very easily. We customized our profile fields. We added, because we're in pharma and pharma is quite wide, we were able to add an industry list, the function list, competencies. I learned about new competencies in the pharma industry that I didn't know before, the specialized skills, the development area. So we did a lot of research and brainstorming, but to input it into the database was very straightforward, very easy to do, and it could be done in just a few minutes, really. But the research and agreeing on what will go in those fields, that took a lot of discussion, as you can imagine. So on the admin time, I would say to set it together to maybe 90% of it, I would say it would take 2 to 3 hours. But after that, if you design it well, you will reap the benefits later. The next step is to attract and onboard your participants. So, but you need to promote the benefits, and certainly one of the benefit is to be able to use this fantastic platform where you can view and review and select your potential mentoring partner. So in our organization, we let our mentee choose their mentor. The mentor can guide the selection, but in general, we try to let the mentees decide by themselves. So to be able to do that, it's important that there is already an algorithm that provides suggestions on who would be a good match for them. That's really useful. And it's also within MentorCity, you can connect, you can have discussions, you can discuss and check on the chemistry of your mentoring partner. So it's wonderful to do that. On the admin time, I would say you want to support your participants. Some people have more difficulty than others with technology. So it's useful to have an orientation session just to show them where things are and just to get them organized. But I would say 1 or 2 hours per week during the recruitment is probably required, depending on how tech savvy your audience is. Then this is where you really reap the benefits of all your design and getting a good selection of mentors and mentees in your program. So you have to ask yourself some questions. Will you veto or validate some of your mentors? And which criteria will you use? And while we know that in a mentorship program, matching is the most challenging step, how do you want to do it? So Brian showed you 3 different ways that you could do it. We decided to have it self-directed. It's working extremely well so far. And we're very grateful for the algorithm that helps make some suggestions. So during the matching, again, perhaps you want to be there to provide a little bit of support. So I would say 1 to 2 hours per week. And then after that, you can relax. As an admin, certainly I relax, but you can focus your energy somewhere else. So you can provide guidance and support, making sure that you engage your participants so that they don't lose focus. And one of the things that really made a difference for me, one functionality that MentorCity really has that really was a clincher was the fact that they have a mentoring agreement right in the platform. So that means that it follows best practices for mentoring programs. It allows the mentors and the mentee to agree ahead of time, and that prevents a lot of frustration and manage expectations. It's also a place where you can document goals, put notes, and then within the platform, you can also collect all of your resources that you can provide to your participants. And then you want to have some feedback. You want to know how you're doing, especially when you're online. You don't meet people face to face. There's no opportunity for them to tell you how you can be even better. So you could provide with feedback survey, and measure your engagement rate. How many mentors do you have? How do you balance the number of mentors and mentees? How many relationships were formed during your program? How many active participants do you have? So all of these things that that is important for us as admin to make sure that we have a healthy program, these can be done embedded right in the platform. And for an admin time, I would say that it takes about no more than 2 to 4 hours per week. You can put as much time as you want if you want to put more, but I would say per year, we don't put much more than 2 to 4 hours per year to do that. But one more thing I want to say, and they have not asked me to tell you that, I want to say that the customer service at MentorCity is second to none. I managed many implementation of IT software in my previous life. And I want to say that they're always available, they're polite, they're patient, and I cannot recommend them highly enough. So I will be happy to answer any questions you may have at the end, but now I will pass it to Sean, who will present other clients' experiences.
Thanks so much, Danielle. It's a pleasure to have you on the webinar today. You are a true program champion, and it has been an amazing experience working with you and your committee. Danielle and the committee have brought lots and lots of innovative ideas to the platform, and some of which we've implemented, and a lot of our clients are taking advantage of those features. So thank you for your ideas and your feedback. I'd say that's one of the coolest things about working at MentorCity is that when we listen to our clients and we implement feedback, and we also implement based on our product roadmap. So the platform never stops evolving. Every day we're evolving. We have a lot of cool things in store in 2024. So definitely reach out to us after the presentation. We can fill you in on some of the things coming up. But I also want to thank everyone for being here today. We have a lot of clients on the call. We have a lot of partners on the call, which is really exciting. And we have a lot of people on the call that are currently exploring MentorCity. So thank you so much for taking the time to be part of this webinar today. I'd now like to pass it back to Justin.
Sorry about that. Before we wrap up, actually, what I wanted to do was just go through some questions that we have that have come through. So if I'm just going to kind of scroll up here, give me a second. Danielle, I know there was one question for you here that came through from Karen. Would you recommend onboarding mentors and mentees, or can you do them both at once?
We typically do them both at once, but we have follow-up meetings where we keep them separate just because they have different needs, different questions. So the orientation, the navigation of the platform, we do together. That's
great. Thank you. And I know, unfortunately, I don't see who this is from. We had a little bit of a bug with the naming instance. One of Sean's clones, Sean Min, said, is there a space within the platform for mentor-mentee pairs to interact with one another and hear how and what other pairs are doing? So absolutely, there's a lot of ways for mentors and mentees to interact. That's one of the beautiful things about this platform, especially in this remote day and age that we are in this working ecosphere that we're in at the moment. But you can set up video conference calls, and we integrate with both. We have a built-in platform, but we integrate with third-party platforms as well. Or you can do chats. You can send messages through the platform. You can have group messaging, so not just one-on-ones and not just one-on-one relationships. We can actually create group relationships. So there's a lot of ways to interact and a lot of ways to find out by creating these groups and these different communities, these forums, if you will, to learn about how others are doing as well. So there's ways to create community, not just within that specific pair, but more throughout the whole organization. Roxanne, you had a question, is there a payment solution integrated into the platform for mentee registration? So we do have clients that monetize the platform. So there are ways to build in, if you want to create some kind of payment plan where they kind of pay to sign up and pay to play, so to speak. We can create customized solutions to help with that for sure. Does it support document sharing? Absolutely. There's ways that we can support document sharing within the platform, whether it's house documentation, storage, and organization systems, or whether it's sharing documents within conversations. So if you're in a one-on-one conversation or in a group conversation, you can send documents, and it saves all the history as well. That's one of the other things that's really cool about the platform, is that all historical information, whether it's files sent, messages sent, of who sent them and when, is all saved, so we can go back and see what we said in our previous discussions to reference back. So great questions, everybody. If there's anything else, please jump in. Now would certainly be a good time. And remember, if you have any questions that come up after the fact, feel free to reach out to us. We've got an email address here at the bottom, info@mentorcity.com. If you have any of our direct email addresses, reach out to us. How does the survey work? Okay, good question in terms of the survey. So we can actually send out surveys through the platform. Brian, do you want to touch a little bit about how the survey works real quick?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can create a survey within MentorCity, and creating that survey, you could choose whether the mentor answers it, the mentee responds to it, or both of them respond to it. You could also make that question required or not mandatory, and you could create like a choose one or like an open box field so that you can type in feedback that way. And then what the system does is it gives you a URL, and that URL can be sent down anywhere. It could be sent out through an announcement on the platform, through an email, through just like a regular text message as well if you want. There's a bunch of different ways to get that URL out once the survey's created. And then you can view all the responses as well for that survey right on the platform.
That's great. Thank you, Brian. And Roxanne, yeah, absolutely. There's multiple levels of users and permissions, so we've got different security levels that we can put in. Who has access to what? Absolutely, that's all built into the platform. So great questions. Like I said, if there's anything else that comes up, please feel free to reach out to us directly. As a little bit of a thank you for joining today, what we'd like, and I know we've got a little bit of a mix. So for those that are not yet clients of MentorCity, we'd like to offer you free 14-day access to the platform, a little trial access to play around with it, get familiar with it, and hopefully fall in love with it like we have. And if you are an existing client, and what we'd like to do is offer a free mentoring program audit and best practice action plan. So a little bit of a deep dive into your specific instance and allow us to perhaps, penetrate some of the topics that we've talked a little bit more about today with you and learn more about what the challenge that you might be facing. So feel free to reach out to us directly or through the email below. Thank you all for your time today. Danielle, thank you so much for joining us. It was a pleasure having you. And like I said, thank you all for joining us and your time today, everybody for participating, and all the best. And hopefully we'll chat soon. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, everybody.
Take care, everyone.
Cheers. Thank you.